Okay, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a close look at something pretty fascinating. Not a dense report this time, but really the vision behind a brand new AI audio series. It's called Curious Minds.
That's right. We've got some source material here, some excerpts that kind of outline the philosophy, the purpose behind this new thing.
Yeah, and our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack these ideas. What's the core driver here? Who are they trying to reach?
What kind of content are they actually promising? And maybe the most interesting part, what does the creator's perspective tell us about, the likely feel of the show?
And the real hook here, I think, the thing that grabbed our attention in the sources, is how they're positioning it. It feels different.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, another audio series. It's framed more as an approach to learning that puts pure, kind of unadulterated curiosity right at the front.
Yeah, finding joy in discovering something new, even if it's small. That seems key. So let's dig into that philosophy first. The source material, it lays out this fundamental idea. The show is specifically for people who, naturally ask questions.
Right, people who get caught by some random fact or feel that that specific spark or rush of excitement, their words when they learn something new.
And they draw a really clear line in the sand, don't they?
They do.
They state explicitly, this is not about, textbook definitions, memorization, studying for exams.
Oh, no, that.
The source really hammers home that the goal is that feeling of, I think the quote was, glad I know that now.
Yeah, I like that.
It's that moment your brain just sort of lights up because you were genuinely curious, not because you had to learn it.
That feels really significant, framing learning itself as the reward.
Absolutely. And it makes even more sense when you look at the origin story they share in the source.
Mm-hmm.
The show is apparently born from, a curious mind, the creator's own curiosity. It wasn't like dreamt up in a marketing meeting.
Right. And they give details a childhood filled with questions.
Mm-hmm.
And crucially, parents who actually respected that curiosity.
Yes, the dad sounds important there, explaining things in detail, taking questions seriously.
And it wasn't just parents. There were other influences feeding that curiosity. Right?
Yeah, an uncle sharing science fiction, documentaries, National Geographic magazines, even before they could fully read them, apparently.
Yeah. And I loved that little detail about the quiz cards, with parents on car trips, building up that general knowledge habit early on.
Became a school quiz captain even. It really paints this picture of curiosity as just an ingrained part of who they are.
So this all leads to that key question the source asks. Why this podcast and why now?
And they offer this really interesting contrast with what they see as like the modern default.
What's that?
Well, someone shows real interest in something today, and the immediate reaction is often, okay, how do you monetize that? Or how does learning that make you more productive?
Right, the practical angle.
Exactly. And this Curious Minds podcast, it explicitly sets itself against that. It exists, they say, flat out, for the simple joy of learning.
Just the joy.
For expanding your mind for no reason other than it feels good. The source is pretty direct. No agenda, no reward, just the thrill of knowing.
Wow.
They call it micro-learning. Bite-sized bits, zero pressure. Just those moments that make you go, I never knew that. It feels like a real counter move to a lot of content out there.
Okay, so if that's the why, the motivation, who exactly is this aimed at? Who is this curious learner they're picturing?
Well, the source paints an incredibly wide picture here. It says anyone and everyone.
Really? That broad?
Yeah, literally from a 5-year-old to an 80-year-old. The only condition mentioned is you just need to be open. You don't need to be a scholar or anything.
Interesting. And what about the benefits of this kind of knowledge, the stuff you pick up just from being curious?
That's interesting, too. They don't frame it as just, collecting trivia facts. They call these little nuggets confidence boosters or tidbits you drop casually in conversation and suddenly everyone's listening.
So there's a social element, too.
Definitely. It's linked to feeling seen, feeling smart, even being better able to connect with people. So simple facts become tools for social and personal gain in a way.
And how does the show position itself, like in the big sea of podcasts and media? What's its niche?
They say it's for people who are maybe tired of mindless scrolling on their phones.
Relatable.
But who also maybe don't want to crack open a textbook, so it sits in the middle. They actually call it infotainment.
Infotainment, okay.
Yeah, information plus entertainment. And they also use this nice phrase, a daily vitamin for the brain.
I like that. And did they mention how people might listen? Like what context?
They did. It reinforces that low-pressure vibe enjoyed on your walk, in the kitchen, or while unwinding before bed.
So fitting into your life, not demanding extra time.
Exactly. Enhancing the everyday rather than being another chore.
Right, let's maybe get into the nuts and bolts then. What can you actually expect to hear? The formats, the topics?
Okay, yeah. The source outlines short, engaging episodes. That's the main thing.
Short and engaging. Good start.
And they list specific types. Some are like mini documentaries, others are audio essays. But here's where it gets particularly interesting, especially for this deep dive on an AI audio series.
Go on.
They explicitly state that some episodes are AI-generated podcasts curated from the best sources available.
Wow, okay. They actually say AI generated.
They do. And then they immediately add a clarification that each episode, no matter the type, is selected, trimmed, and crafted.
Ah, so there's still a human hand involved. Curation.
Seems like it. Significant human curation and crafting, aiming for fascinating insights delivered efficiently, even with the AI-generated ones.
That explicit mention of AI is definitely something to note. Tells you a lot about their approach, embracing new tools.
For sure. And the range of topics they list is just huge.
Like what?
Science, history, space, psychology, geography, wildlife, tech trends, obscure facts, mysteries, lesser-known cultures, inventions, human behavior. Basically anything under the sun you could be curious about.
Covers pretty much everything then. The classic did you know stuff too.
Exactly. And they mention frequency new episodes weekly, maybe even more often sometimes.
Really, or more, okay?
And the source kind of implies this rhythm is tied to the creator's own learning. Like when something sparks their interest enough, it might become an episode.
A labor of love, they call it somewhere.
Yeah, and fulfilling a lifelong itch being scratched.
Okay, so let's talk about this creator. Who are they? What does the source tell us about them?
Professionally, they identify as a creative copywriter and author, which they say means they're kind of naturally wired for storytelling and finding insights.
Makes sense. But there's more to it, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. The source quickly adds more layers. Photographer, wildlife enthusiast, lifelong dog lover,
Okay.
biker, adventurer, and get this, a former national-level karting racer back in the day.
Karting racer. Wow. That's the first.
Isn't it? And their upbringing sounds really key, too. Grew up amidst plantations, away from city chaos, surrounded by greenery, birds, fields, biodiversity.
So a strong nature connection.
Very strong. The source really highlights that connection to nature, animals, the unexplored, and dogs, too, always had a four-legged companion, teaching them things, grounding them.
And something else shifted their perspective significantly, too, according to the source.
Yes. Becoming a father to twin baby girls, described as the most life-changing role yet. Made them slow down, shifted perspective, and crucially, helped them see the world again through eyes full of wonder, innocence, and curiosity.
That connects directly back to the podcast's core theme, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It seems deeply relevant.
And they're already a published author.
Yep. The source mentions a guide for new dog parents, a book on saying no aimed at empaths or people pleasers,
Interesting combo.
and one on digital detoxing. Plus, upcoming books are mentioned, using AI wisely, building quiet confidence, and others that blend self-growth with practical tools.
So the podcast fits into that larger picture of sharing ideas.
Exactly. The creator describes it as just another way to share what lights them up, calls it like a companion to my books, a voice version of my thoughts.
Another medium for the same exploration.
Pretty much.
And finally, the source touches on their views on faith and belief.
It does. States they believe in keeping an open mind, don't lean towards any specific religion, identify as agnostic, describes themselves as always questioning, always exploring, looking for deeper truths.
And the podcast reflects that.
That's what they state. The podcast aims to embody that same open, inclusive, and curious mindset, exploring ideas without dogma.
Okay, so let's try and pull these threads together now. We've got this creator with a really varied background: racing, writing, nature, fatherhood, an agnostic viewpoint. And then we have this podcast built on curiosity for joy, microlearning, and explicitly using AI in its creation. How does all that from the source create something unique?
Well, what really stands out, I think, based on what we've read, is that blend. You have this deeply personal, almost philosophical drive, the joy of pure curiosity set against productivity culture.
Hmm.
And you mix that with the very modern, very technical inclusion of AI for generating some content. The source doesn't say how the AI works exactly.
Right, no technical details.
But just mentioning it alongside mini docs and essays, curated from best sources, suggests they're deliberately using new tools.
So technology serving that core human impulse.
That seems to be the idea. Technology helping discovery, but with a human curator still shaping it. It makes the series feel modern, maybe a bit experimental in its form, but quite traditional in its core motivation.
So stepping back,
Hmm.
why should you, listening to us now, care about this specific introduction to a new audio series?
Well, because as the source lays it out, it offers a very distinct philosophy about learning, about engagement.
How so?
It's different from so much content that's purely goal-oriented, focused on outcomes. This elevates the inherent value of knowing something new. It celebrates just being curious.
It's an interesting take on how we might engage with information today.
Definitely. And maybe it makes you think, in your own life, how much of your information intake is driven by a specific goal versus just that pure spark the source talks about.
Good question. So we've taken a deep dive into the vision for this new Curious Minds AI audio series, pulling out the key ideas from the source material provided.
Yeah, we looked at that core emphasis on curiosity for joy, the promise of diverse, bite-sized stuff, including those AI-generated bits,
Right.
and how the creator's own eclectic journey seems woven into its whole purpose.
It really does paint a thought-provoking picture, doesn't it? One possible way forward for creating content that's accessible, engaging, maybe more human-centric, even while using new tech.
For sure. In this age of endless information and new tools popping up all the time.
So here's a final thought to leave you with, kind of drawing from these themes in the source. If the world is packed with fascinating things to learn, and new tools like AI can help us find and digest them, is the simple thrill of knowing, that pure, unadulterated curiosity, is that actually enough of a reason to learn?